Hey, Stefan, thank you so much again for joining the podcast for a second conversation where we will take a more forward look at coaching
Thank you for the
in a more
invitation
general
again.
context. And the first thing I would like to start is that in your, let's say, rather provocative book, you argue that the boundaries between work and private life are dissolving.
Mhm.
And you say, look, that's been accelerated dramatically by things like COVID and remote working. But does that mean that the classical distinction between business coaching and life coaching is becoming obsolete? And if it becomes obsolete, what does that mean for how executive coaches should position, train themselves, and basically create a value proposition?
I think I have to react like a coach with another question. The executive, have there ever been a difference between it? So when I talk to my colleagues who are really executive coaches, they say the higher they are, the more the private life is a part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you work 12, 14, 16, 18 hours a day, this has an impact on your private life. This has an impact on your health. So it's absolutely natural in a way, in a little bit negative sense, that the private life is impacted. And that the line, the differentiation between private and business is not possible. Because this has an impact if you maybe don't see your kids, if you don't see your spouse, and maybe she will give you feedback as well. So there will be always an impact, especially on executive coaching, impact on the private life, on the business life. Yeah.
No.
And so I think this border was always an artificial one, especially when it comes to executive coaching. And let's be honest, the DVVC and other coaching associations, they were founded, especially the DVVC, because they say we are the business coaches to maybe protect the market. Because business coaching, of course, this is the area where you can potentially earn a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And simply a differentiation to create a USP, so to speak, from these life coaches. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly defined and you can address the market. And it was successful. When you look over the last 20 years, it was successful. So business coaching has established in a way. Nevertheless, if you look behind the curtain, especially in executive coaching, I think there are always parts of the private life, of personality. Mm-hmm. Where do they get their resources from really to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day? Yeah. So you even have to integrate, I think, the private life to be a responsible coach. Because as I said, the resources don't, on the one hand, come due to the success in the business. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there must be, you as a coach, I think you have to figure out where are other resources for the energy they need for this exhausting job.
Yeah. And I think that's a very interesting point, Stefan. And but do you also see that there's a kind of natural boundary? Let's say you as an executive coach, you're kind of hired to help, a struggling, let's say, division manager with the results or his or her, division and relationship with his team, and basically slowly you discover that a number of, let's say, root causes for lack of effectiveness for the individual or his and her private life. Do you find it then, let's say, legitimate to start exploring that and spend a large part of the effort on that, or do you have an idea of, well, you need to go back to a certain extent, perhaps rediscuss the mandate or your remit? How do you see that from a kind of ethics or contractual point of view, Stefan?
I see it very similar to you. And at the end, the customer will decide how open he will be. Mm-hmm. So the customer is, of course, the guardrail and the guide for these questions. Yeah. And you have to be sensible enough to see this. Yeah. Yeah. Where it's maybe you're crossing a boundary where it's not acceptable anymore because it's too private or so.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to be simply an ethical coach in a way that you listen exactly to these cues
Yeah.
carefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, then simply ask, is
Yeah.
this too much or is this too private? And you will
Yeah.
get an answer immediately, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's an
That,
interaction and negotiation. Yeah.
yeah. But do you feel that there are also situations where you may have to perhaps go to, let's say, the sponsor of the coaching engagement, or would you have to ask the individual to go back to the sponsor, or?
Yeah, I think that's always a negotiation. You should not decide this by you can't decide this by
Nee.
It's a negotiation, and
Yeah.
everyone should be fine with this, the result of the negotiation. Yeah?
Yeah.
But it's a discussion process, and maybe this discussion process can be a part of the coaching
Yeah.
because it's engaging another person, bringing in another perspective, asking somebody. So it's even maybe a part of the intervention.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great guidance. I think on another tangent is you also wrote, and I thought it was very interesting, that the needs of coaching clients differ between generations in terms of both content and format. Could you perhaps elaborate on that? I mean, for instance, what does it specifically mean for coaching, baby boomers versus millennials versus, people from Generation Z? And do you think that, let's say, most executive coaches will be able to handle these differences, or would they need to develop new capabilities?
Regarding the first question, I simply observe my environment. So I observe, of course, my kids, my son. I observe the other Generation Z people, and they are simply, because it comes to consuming and interacting, they are simply consume in another way. And the major way, of course, the smartphone. Yeah? And it's all about that it's easy, for example, to consume, that they feel there's somebody who's authentic, like the people who are really doing the marketing in social media also. They have to be credible in a way. So if you as a coach come across in a credible way, then maybe you have better chances. Your processes must be very easy to engage with you. It must be easy to get a engagement with you. So all the processes must be more or less driven by smartphone. How do you pay, for example, at the end? The coaching session must be easy. So all these process criteria, coming to a coach, getting into a coaching, they should be very easy. And at the end, the coach, must be a very convincing personality in a way. Yeah. So this is important for them. And of course, they will evaluate you at the end. Yeah, because it's easy to evaluate. And of course, you maybe even want to be evaluated, so they can compare. And we just discuss it in the
pre-discussion. Discussion.
They will change if they are not happy.
Yeah.
So they are not really stick to this one coach because there are so many choices.
Yeah.
This has completely changed in comparison to our generation. You are very happy you have found one coach, two coaches, three coaches in the internet and understood what they have written on their home pages. So it's much easier to really engage with people. And this, I think, is the amazing. And then, of course, we just discussed it as well. It has to be different today from AI.
Yeah.
It's not only asking questions. After 10 minutes, you get a list of to-dos. You have to add more value to the customer that they really may come again.
Yeah.
So you have to be very convincing again in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And you then say really the attention span has changed over the last 10 years or so. Then, of course, you have to be to the point.
Yeah.
And of course, you can try to extend the coaching because of business, but I think you will lose them.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel immediately a value due to your sharp questions and to the point questions, they will not engage anymore with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
it has to be
in other words, you need to be much more, let's say, in the present in the session and add value
absolutely
here and now and continuously to prove the value. Yeah.
have to be an impactful coach.
Yeah.
Have to know your business. That's
Yeah.
why we said you have to be even more professional today than in the past, because now there is a competitor. Of course, you can't really compare it, but this is on the market, and our customers don't know really the difference between AI coaching and a really good coaching session with a human coach. Yeah?
Yeah.
They don't know it up front. Yeah?
No.
So we have to convince them in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Due to our presence, due to the questions, etc.
Yeah.
Or not asking questions and listening, for example, in the right moment, as we discussed.
Yeah.
Silence in the right moment.
But it also starts to move to driving outcomes. So to basically encouraging and equipping your client to come with outcomes in the here and now. And yeah.
Like I wrote it in my article. We have to get better.
Yeah.
We have to make a difference.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Hey, and also if we talk about modern developments, a theme you've touched in your book, which I also thought was quite provocative, was wearables.
Mm-hmm.
Because wearables make it possible to collect data that could also be used for coaching purposes, right? You could think about heart rate, blood pressure during stressful interactions. You could link that to someone's agenda. Do you think, let's say, that these kind of tools will ever be part of, let's say, the toolkit of coaches? Do you think it's a more matter of when than if, or do you think there's some boundary? How do you see that evolving over time?
I simply ask you: do you have a smartwatch?
No.
Okay.
But basically, as basically living in Switzerland, I'm a stout supporter of the Swiss watch industry. So no.
As well, but nevertheless, a lot of people, as we know.
But I got a lot of these things hanging around. Yeah, different, lot of screens around me. Yeah.
But when I observe the twins around me, they most often have a smartwatch. So for them, it's normal to wear such a smartwatch. And of course, this is a nice entry point to at least ask them if you are familiar as well. And maybe that's why we have to buy one, to get familiar with the functions of the smartwatch, and then simply integrate this daily wearable, so to speak, in the session. Because this is again a point. You can potentially, of course, measure the impact of your coaching on the long run. For example, when the classical example, improving presentation, then maybe you can ask the client to do the heart rate, to measure the heart rate at the beginning of the coaching and after half a year.
Yeah.
Changed. Yeah. So all the
but it's interesting. You could almost say during the session, I noticed, Stenzel, that your heart rate is now, let's say, increased. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
So really integrating it in a natural way into the session, I think it's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
And of course, I had this as a service in my company, the VR coaching. So VR supported coaching, especially now when our managers go on the big marketing events and standing on the big screens, looking into the theater, so to speak, in the dark. Really, that you can simulate this, because it's a different situation than talking in front of your team of 10, 20 or 50 people. And really simulating them with this VR goggle, this situation. And maybe you have had this as well, or seen this as well. The goggle really can detect your eye movement. You can even, I think, combine this in the future with the heart rate. So we really can measure improvement, impact of your coaching. So it's again a nice opportunity for professional coaches to say, let's measure it.
Yeah.
Let's measure my impact. And we of course know there is no always a causal linkage between the coaching and the improvement of the person. Nevertheless, it's a starting point really to make coaching more measurable in a way. And I think we have to leverage this in our own interest to get more credibility in comparison to the wannabe coaches and of course to AI as well. So really, again, leverage and digitalization to improve our business.
Yeah, you could almost see it as an expansion of our senses, because typically as coaches we use eyes to see and observe body language. We listen in order to get let's say verbal clues, and I think this would just be a matter of, let's say, another kind of channel of information. Yeah.
I think it's a new world, and we have to leverage the positive things here and really leverage it for our clients, that they can see our impact and see, of course, that they improve.
Stefan, you already mentioned AI quite a bit, and I know you're very, very active in that space. Before we go into ethical questions about wearables and AI, what is your perspective, let's say, on AI? And if you were to see it, let's say, first as a kind of competition between human coaching and AI bots. Do you think there's a kind of, let's say, boundary or an area where let's say AI will never come, and that's kind of protected for coaches? And what does it mean for coaches? How do you see this field emerging?
For me, it's very simple. I have a simple answer. Generative AI is so far too talkative. My first teacher for coaching said the only person who has to sweat is the coachee. So, and if I compare then this professional, very rough guideline for a good coach, AI so far is not a good coach. Really finding the right level of provocation, to the right level of silence, the right questions in the right moment, not really skipping into consulting too early. Of course, sometimes consulting can help as well. But this is what we are still seeing in AI is, for me, not coaching. Not a professional coaching of a professional educated coach with a lot of experience. This is the beginner level. So you have to learn questions by heart, and then you feel, of course, a little bit more secure. And then you ask questions as soon as it gets silent or so. This is maybe the level of AI at the moment. And as I said, I think coaching is more. And it's, on the one hand, this technique I just mentioned. On the other hand, we just mentioned it in our discussion before. You as a person are the tool. The personality of the coach is the tool. And even this makes it very unique. Nevertheless, I think for the coach, it's very important then to know what is my personal brand, why I'm maybe so special, like every person is special. But what is my characteristic? How do I come across? And why do I have the clients I have? Because this is always interesting from the client side or from the coach side. Who are the coachees who are picking me? Are they very similar, or are they very different? Am I more neutral, or am I polarization in a way? So I have to learn more about my personal brand. Is not the right word, but the personality, how I come across.
You're right. Simply the ability to generate the right open type of questions to stimulate thinking is not enough anymore. It's about what we said earlier. It's giving value back in the here and now and in the session. Yeah.
The other thing, if you really discuss or interact with AI, they really immediately come across with very simple models. And this is exactly the signal that they are not coaches, because coaching means you are working with your mindsets and your perspective on the world. You are telling me, and this is what I have to work with. And I think the models sometimes maybe help as well. Nevertheless, at least with the models with the AI I worked with, interacted, it was very basic, and all the popular management models come across, and I said, guys, this is not enough. Yeah, so this is for a first level manager who is in the business. It's interesting. Nevertheless, I think this is not for the complexity. When we again talk about executive coaching, it's not enough challenging for executive. Yeah. And the other thing is, of course, that you it's sometimes hard, especially for AI, to come into ambidextrous situations where there is no right and wrong. So it's a middle path where you have to think about the pros and cons, and maybe the circumstances where the pros and cons change, etc. So if you really go in the executive coaching and want to be a sparring partner, then as said, the models, they are too simplistic, because as we all know, these simplistic models, management models, they have to be taught in sessions of trainings in 1 hour or half an hour. And there's never the time really seldom the time to discuss really the complexity of reality. This is why maybe the transfer of some programs is so weak, because it's more about conveying a model.
It's more about rationally understanding a model or an approach rather than living it through and applying it. Yeah.
Positive thing in this is, of course, giving them the feeling with the model that they can really cope with the reality. Nevertheless, if they're done in the real situation, they of course discover immediately that this model, of course, not covers the reality, because it's a model. Nevertheless, a good training session exactly discusses this discrepancy between the simplicity of the model, which is necessary and helps on the one hand, but on the other hand, it must enlarge again or transfer to the complexity of reality. And the paradoxes, we have so many paradoxes in reality, and this is exactly what I think executives are facing.
Yeah. And do you also foresee, let's say, blended modes of coaching, where almost a kind of, first line coach is then AI, and then at a certain moment it switches to, what is your thinking about?
I think for me, the key words are really the hybrid thing and on demand, because I think you will have more and more coaches coming already coached by AI. Yeah, so you're immediately confronted with AI in a way. Yeah, and as I said, it's on demand, and then maybe embedded in between the sessions, before the sessions, after the sessions, really that the customer, the coachee, really sticks to the topic, etc. I think to interweave really AI in a smart way could again help the coaches to create an impact. And this is exactly what we have to think about currently. How to embed this in a way that it creates a positive impact for our clients.
And I think if you think about AI and you think about wearables, then immediately questions spring to mind about data ownership, privacy, boundaries of coaching relationships, etc. You're also, let's say, involved in various bodies to think about the future of coaching. Is in your, how do you think that let's say the community is currently dealing with with these issues? Do you think that all the professional bodies are on it and basically understand how to use and explore the technology, and also where the boundaries are? Do you think we still have a long way to go and are perhaps too conservative? What is your perspective on let's say, on one hand stimulating adoption and on the other hand regulating these tools?
Many questions.
Yeah, it's a very broad question, but I think the end of the day, the question I think could be boiled down to to, let's say, is let's say, are professional coaching bodies aware of, let's say, what's playing in this space, and in your perception, are they able to handle this, let's say, correctly at the moment, as in
Think,
handling in terms of using the opportunities, but also putting clear boundaries?
I think the associations just have started, especially ICF is very active in this.
Yeah.
And they have ethical guidelines, etc. And from my point of view, this will be for me the proof point, if we really get it, that we really understand the new century, so to speak, of coaching, is that AI literacy will be a standard part of education for coaching.
Yeah.
All the AI literacy, AI ethics, etc., has to be a part of every coaching education.
Yeah.
I will observe this, especially in my association, when all the vendors, if they really change their agendas, if they change their curricula, because this is the future. This, if you really want to prepare people in a responsible way, being a coach and acting as a coach in the future, then it has to be a standard, and this will be my measurement, so to speak, if we as the community get it or not. It's only on the one hand the ethical guidelines, which may be brought up by association, but then really embedding it in the community. I think these are the big two responsibilities we have as coach community. This will be maybe even then the differentiation between the real professional coaches and the wannabes. That really know the thing, and of course the AI literacy on the technical side, and AI literacy, of course, on the ethical literacy. How do you want to see them at the end? Like all the ethical questions, these are personal questions as well. How far I want to go, and for me the difference is how transparent am I as a coach when it comes exactly to this question, that you really ask your client what he is willing to accept, how far she wants to go, and that you have clear written piece of paper where you really show how you protect the data, etc. Proactively in a way. So this will be again the difference, because I think not very serious coaches or wannabe coaches will not do this because they only want to earn money. But taking care exactly of these topics and bringing them actively into the sessions, this will be a differentiator. And if the client don't want to talk about it, fine. But nevertheless, it's our responsibility to bring it actively in the first sessions or in the paper up front or so.
If you think about organizations and the way that organizations evolve, that leadership evolves in organization, you've been in this business for a long time, several decades. Do you see any trends in, let's say, the way that organizations are evolving in terms of, models, and how leadership, let's say, is evolving, leadership styles are evolving over time? Do you see any changes? And if so, how do you think that executive coaches could optimally support their clients in these changes?
So if you read the newspapers, if I look at my own organization, if I look on the book market, the big term at the moment, and I think it will be not a buzzword, is the agentic organization. So the next step after Gen AI, agentic AI, where you say in an ideal world, the complete process of a business process end to end will be managed by an AI. So this is a vision or dystopia, I don't know, a good vision or a dystopian vision. But I think this comes across now. And I think we don't have answers yet. What does it really mean for leadership? But making it very simple, of course, on the one hand, it means that decision making will be a big part for maybe even coaching, because AI will offer you a lot of options you have never thought of. And they are sometimes controversial. Maybe the burden of an ethical question behind.
Yeah.
Really, decision making in this complexity which the AI can offer content-wise. I think one major need for. I just write my second book exactly about this. I said, what does it mean for leadership? What does it mean for coaching? And the second thing is, of course, when we are talking constantly to AI bodies, entities, then maybe the personal authenticity of a manager is more and more important.
Yeah.
So you really have to convince the left people in the organization, or even you have to manage, on the one hand, hybrid teams. So teams really of human beings and robots.
Yeah.
How to bring this together.
Yeah.
So these are completely, I think, new questions, which are really challenging. On the other hand, maybe the status people or managers had in the past will be changed.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge, what was unique for the big concept, especially for executives and their consultants, it can be done by a machine.
No, I think you're right. I think the interesting thing is what you just said about decision making. I think you could
simply close my idea, my thinking. And the other thing is, of course, when AI can do the concepts, the doers, the change agents, they are more and more important, because maybe AI has created a very sophisticated concept about a new innovative process, etc., or product. Somebody has to implement this.
Yeah.
So we need, again, people who are really have the capabilities to do it, to implement it. And as we all know from the past, change managers have to be great people who are working with people, who are capable to work with people, to convince people in a way.
Yeah.
So I think the role of a manager will really change dramatically on each level, and maybe even on the first levels, we have really less managers, and so it will simply change. And I said I'm just writing the second book on this. Exactly think about this, because my understanding of leadership development in the last 30 years or 20 years will be different from this, what will do my colleagues who are now starting with the profession. And even HR, of course, will completely change and will be reduced to the max, because all administrational tasks will be self-services or done by an AI entity. But then the personal support, coaching support in a way, or coaching-like support, will be the only body which is a part of HR.
Yeah, because I think you're absolutely right. And what I find interesting is, and that's what I wrote down. There's almost kind of a move from data collection and data analysis, because that can be outsourced, to decision making and implementation. So basically, it frees up time. That's a positive thing, but it also requires, let's say, different capabilities to be even further developed, because the other capabilities might be irrelevant over time.
Yes. Yeah. And as a decision-making, complex decision-making, this will be, I think, one of the major, because we have then all the information, we have all perspectives. Or even we should know, and this may be another skill everyone should have, or managers should have, especially managers should have, that they know the limitations, of course, of AI. Because hallucinating, and we have to know when there's a danger of hallucination, etc. We don't build our decisions on information which are biased or not the wrong one, or simply the fantasy of AI. So, and I think this is something completely new. We haven't had this in the past. So now, really, I called my book, or have in the title, there's a paradigm shift. Now it's really, we will have a paradigm shift of leadership development, or leadership in general, not leadership development.
Yeah, and if you talk about leadership and leadership development in a broader context, one of the things you wrote which really appealed to me is that you said, look, coaches working with senior executives are, whether they like it or not, actors who also have an impact on our society, right? Because as coaches, we indirectly shape the world's working lives of hundreds and perhaps even thousands of employees, depending on our scale at the level at which we coach. Do you think that, let's say, the coaching profession as a body is aware enough, let's say, on that responsibility for society? Or do you think there's still work to be done, and what could that work look like?
I have no data on this. Nevertheless, again, listening to my association, what are the discussions, what are the topics? We seldom discuss about politics, to be honest. Yeah. So politics, society is not a big deal, a big topic in the association. So, and I've never seen any riots of coaches, so to speak, something like this, that they really being as a body come across in a big newspaper or so, a statement about politics or so. So I think, and this is, as I wrote it in the book, maybe we have to get more aware of our responsibility if we want to be a meaningful part of professional society, so to speak, to be more active in a way, to come across more active, because otherwise we doing our things with our coaches in our little nice garden, in our little nice paradise. But as you said it, the managers, they will dismiss, you now see it in Germany in the auto industry.
Yeah, exactly.
They will dismiss people because of management failures. And maybe you can offer a reflection on their responsibility. But I think as coach, of course, you can't influence in a way, or you're not allowed to influence your client in a political way or so. If they ask for this and if they are open for a discussion, then of course you should be ready in a way. You should have a perspective on this.
On the ethical dimensions of
then you can discuss this. Nevertheless, and this is maybe then the political mindset you have to have as a coach, maybe in the future, to have a statement. And this, of course, maybe is again a differentiator, because AI don't have a political perspective. They will always please you and say, "Yeah, absolutely right." Or,
absolutely. Yeah, if you basically want to basically close down this plant with 5,000 employees, then this is the best way to handle it with the Betriebsrat and the staff council, and then these are the steps to take. And then I would not say this, and probably you don't want to share this data at this stage yet. Yeah, correct.
And this is then again a differentiator and the added value, and of course it makes you vulnerable in a way, because you have a statement, but this is again the differentiator to an AI. And then maybe some coaches will stop the coaching engagement. But nevertheless, you are somebody who is unique. and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
It's
a
also
coach for
where
everybody.
you have to, as a coach, have to draw your individual ethical boundary at a certain moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this is the difference again. So the personality of the coach as a, yeah, the person of a coach is more and more important. That she is authentic in a way, and yeah, that you offer a different perspective. And this is, from my point of view, really the core of coaching,
yeah,
because you offer another perspective of the world, or reflect as a mirror the perspective of the client. And this is the added value where I can say, hey, could we see this maybe from a different angle? If this is the only perspective, this is for me the coaching, to really offer a more broader field of solutions and
yeah,
perspectives,
yeah,
get more ways to act, to
yeah,
think.
yeah.
This is for me the essence of coaching in a way.
Yeah, you could also help clients also in a, perhaps in a kind of gentle way to think about, let's say, the future impacts of their decisions, in the sense of,
Of course.
in 30
Yeah,
years' time, if you were to explain this to your children, would you still be proud of the decision you're about to
exactly.
take today?
And
Yeah,
in a scenario, this is exactly what I mean. Yeah.
yeah,
So maybe create a scenario. What does it mean from the different perspective? How do you see this if you're now 70 or so? How would you evaluate this after such a long time from a distance, so to speak? This is
yeah.
exactly the core of coaching, for me at least.
Well, thank you so much for this second interview, Stefan. I learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners will learn a lot as well. And I just want to thank you so much for for taking so much time out of your agenda to for these conversations.
Thank you for having me.